Hi Rob, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming.
Hi,
a real
Sarah.
pleasure to be able to speak to you today. Had the pleasure of being at the premiere last night. What a blast. For people who haven't seen Section 31 yet, can you give us a brief intro? What can they expect going into this movie?
I mean, if you're a fan of Star Trek, don't expect anything you've ever seen before. It's kind of a blend of Suicide Squad meets Guardians of the Galaxy meets Mission Impossible, all in the realms of the Federation universe. It's hard to describe what it is because it's new. It's a new flavour of Star Trek, a new kind of direction for them to go in, and it's going to be a lot of curse words that you wouldn't normally find in the Star Trek world. A little bit more risqué, a little bit more fun, a little bit less self-aware, perhaps than. More self-aware is the correct phrasing. Yes, more self-aware than the usual thing. It doesn't take itself quite so seriously.
What I loved about it is I think obviously it fits snugly into the Star Trek universe, but it can also work as a standalone film. Of course, I know you're a long-time fan of Star Trek, so you're probably very well versed in all of the lore and that whole universe. But was that also quite appealing to you, that it can work on its own as well? And like you say, it's something a bit different.
I'd have done Star Trek for free no matter what it was, if it, you know what I mean? But it's like the beauty of the old episodes of Star Trek was you could just tune in, doesn't matter what episode, doesn't matter what series, they were standalone, little moral parables that you would just tune in, and didn't matter what season, you didn't have to follow along with a whole arc of a storyline. You could just tune in and enjoy it and come away feeling comforted or educated or inspired. And that's kind of the beauty of doing it in one and done films. If we do more films, hopefully they'll stand alone away from each other as well, and you won't have to watch others. And it's very hard to keep growing the fandom when you have to find new ways to bring new audience members in. And this is our way of doing it. There's an awful lot of Star Trek that you'd have to it's very intimidating to have all of those shows, all of those different things. But where do I even start? And although the correct answer is start with TNG, it is nice to give people a starting off point to sit here and say, hey, you don't need to know everything about the Federation like I do. Here's Star Trek. Enjoy. And hopefully we'll bring in a lot of new eyes.
And taking on the role of Zeph, I mean, it seems like you did have all the knowledge, but what was your preparation like? Did you have to go back and...
Zero preparation at all. I mean, unless you want to count 40 years of watching Star Trek and being obsessed with it as preparation. I mean, it was quite lucky. It's one of my best friends, Peyton List. She played one of the evil Romulan brothers and sisters in the Picard series, and she came to me and she was like, I don't know anything about Star Trek. Can you help me? And I was like, well, you came to the right person. And I sat her down and I went, this is where we're starting. We're starting with this specific episode. We're starting with this specific bit of this. And then eventually she became equally, if not more, obsessed with Star Trek as I am. And so literally for about 2.5 years before I even auditioned for this job, I was re-going over everything and teaching her and stuff like that. And so this is what a Romulan is. This is the Treaty of Algernon. This is all of these things that kind of matter. So even though there hasn't been a moment in my life where Star Trek has not been my comfort show that I go to watch, I was even fresher in the mind simply because of that.
And I mean, you were talking a lot about last night, sort of the physical challenge of wearing this suit. You said it was 50 pounds, extra weight. So in terms of that side of taking on the character, doing the stunt scenes, the choreography, etc., was that a challenge? But also seems like you had a lot of fun with it too.
I'm used to it. I mean, the career that I've had, it's all been action movies and super suits and stunt work and things like that. And it's the thing I enjoy most doing, whilst I still can and my knees are still functioning and my back isn't too painful. I mean, I'm 41 now and I've been doing action movies since I was 24. It's very different. Back on the day on EastEnders, they wouldn't let you cross a road without a stuntman. And then suddenly you go and do movies and they're like, you want to jump out the window? Yeah, jump out the window. What's the worst that can happen? You're like, okay. So, I mean, I love it. And, anything that gives me a physical challenge feeds the character for me. It's so, when we were doing Warcraft, you had to have these movement coaches and they would teach you how to move like you weighed 800 pounds, and it was quite hard work and it was all this mental work to go into. But when you're actually climbing into a suit that is that cumbersome, that hot, that uncomfortable and that heavy, you just carry that around into the character without you even have to think about it, and it's just a gift.
You were saying last night as well about how it kind of instantly felt like a family on set, and there is kind of this brilliant chemistry between the whole ensemble cast. But of course, probably special mention has to go to Michelle Yeoh. I mean, she is so badass, so funny. As she was saying, even behind a lot of the action scenes, you know, she's also thinking about the drama. So she brings so much to this role. Was it like working with all the cast, but particularly Michelle?
It was a joy. I've never had a bad cast in my entire career. I've been very lucky. There's been a couple of bad eggs every now and then. There always is one or two, but they're never... It's always overshadowed by the good eggs. And that's the majority of how it works. But I've never, ever set foot on a set and immediately had everybody fall in love with each other. And it was from day one. I mean, literally just day one. It just felt really special. I mean, and Amari and Amari and I have become quite close. And, you know, we were talking, and it was like, have you ever had this before? He was like, oh, no, this is new to me. And I haven't asked Michelle. I'm sure she's had a better career than both of us put together. But like, I've never felt camaraderie like that immediately. Immediately, just like phone numbers and dinners, and then just checking in with each other and staying in touch. It's been nearly a year now, and we're still just constantly talking. And it made me really excited for how it's going to appear on screen. You know, because in my career, I'll say that the things that I thought were going to be brilliant have not been, and the things that I'm not sure about have always turned out brilliant. And in this case, you're like, well, is this camaraderie going to come across? And I really feel like it does. It feels like a crew, you know, and I would go into space with these people and happily spend a 5-year journey exploring the Federation's frontiers with these guys. It's just, the whole thing just works so well, and there's so many different flavors of people that all just blends together to make a brilliant meal. And it's just, I can't wait for people to see what we're like together.
And what do you think it is about Michelle which makes her so special as an actress, but also what she brings to this film, to that character? And it does feel like you know, there's a lot going on. While she can be ruthless on the one hand, there's also sides of vulnerability, and you know, there's so many things to take from her story. I was talking to her about
this yesterday. Is the one thing that I don't think anybody ever predicted was the fingerprints that Philippa Georgiou leaves on the Star Trek universe. You know, she's there for Michael Burnham, and she's there for Discovery in that era, and then she's also quite heavily involved in the future of 27th Century Federation, but now she's gone back in the past. She's also formative in how Section 31, Rachel Garrett as the captain of the Enterprise, and the post-Kirk era, because this is between Kirk and Picard. Like, Philippa Georgiou is a cornerstone of the Federation, of the Starfleet, of the Star Trek universe. She's a cornerstone of it. And I don't think anybody, when they were, you know, writing Discovery and bringing Michelle in, thought, you know what, this character is actually going to be, you know, the Nexus character of this universe. But it's kind of turning out to be that way. And the evolution of the Georgiou character from, you know, despotic, autocratic, Nazi-based ruler to being a sympathetic character with redemption arcs, it's kind of magical in so many ways. We were discussing yesterday about how, you know, I don't know if you watched the original series, but the original series, when the Terrans were presented, they were just pure evil. It was just Spock with a goatee, and they're evil, and the evil, terrible people, and there's no redeeming qualities. And of course that can't function as a story device if you're going to go into depth. And as time's gone in, they've shown that the Terrans, they aren't, you know, different than us. They've just made different choices. They are motivated by greed and all the things that make us, they show us where we could end up. And to then bring a character like Georgiou, who's meant to be the tip of the spear of that, into an empathetic universe, and see how that changes somebody who was raised in the whole nature versus nurture argument. I think it's just a beautiful thing, and talks about all the things that matter with Star Trek. It's redemption and morality, and how you don't have to walk the path that's presented in front of you. You can learn what the right one is and then change direction. It's just, Georgiou is a cornerstone character.
Thanks so much for sharing all that with me, and huge congratulations on the film. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.